You know, we did just raise the salaries. I believe it was 65 to 80,000 3 years ago. So our salaries are 80,000. We have a $5,000 stipend, bringing in the total to 85,000, which I think is very fair. I think we're compensated really quite well. To receive that raise, last time, you had to win an election, and you had people, when you were running, knew that you supported or didn't support that raise, which I think was very important. When I ran, people knew that I had supported, and I did support it. And so you got judged on that. In this situation, we do have some council members supporting this that were just elected, but the voters did not know that they were actually going to bring this forward, which I think is unfair to the voters. I think the voters have a right to know, since they're the ones funding these salaries, that in fact these council members were going to support it if they're going to support it. And so I think that's dishonest to their constituents, and I think for that reason alone, it shouldn't even be happening. I do want to address the fact that this is nearly 70% pay hike, which is pretty extraordinary as far as I'm concerned. We do have something called the Transparency Act, which is based on looking at benchmark cities. And if you would put that up, Brianna, because I want to share with the public these benchmark cities that we look at. So I don't know how well, there you go, a little higher, where you can show that. Fresno currently, you can see in the middle graph, it gets $80,000 for council members. Now that's fifth currently between those benchmark cities that include Anaheim, Bakersfield, Long Beach, Oakland, Riverside, Sacramento, San Diego, San Jose, Santa Ana, and Stockton. If we do this $135,000 raise, which is $55,000, nearly a 70%, we would go to the second place, which would be even higher than San Diego. Now, San Diego has 1.4 million people that council members are elected from and oversee in terms of policies and issues related to their population. We have about 550,000, but we would go to $135,000 more than the San Diego council members, with approximately a third less the population. That doesn't make sense. That is not a fair analysis in terms of what you ought to be paid based on just the population alone. And if you look at some of the other populations, for example, Sacramento, there's 524,000. They're getting paid 98,000. We would be going to 135. Oakland's got 440,000 people. They're paid 104,000. Long Beach has got 466,000 people, and they're making $45,000 a year. So I think the proposal is an outrageous one. Makes no sense. And when we look at it from a transparency and benchmark analysis, it makes no sense. If you'd put up the next chart. Now this one I think is even more significant. This shows, and we did an analysis of all the median household incomes in the different districts. And if you could make that a little smaller so you could see. Okay, not too small, but. So if you look at basically, first of all, for Fresno, the entire city of Fresno, the household median income is $53,000. $53,000. This raise of $55,000 would be a raise bigger than the average household median income. For the entire household of someone's income in Fresno, on average, this salary increase would be more significant than that. And if you look at the different districts, you look at, for example, District 3, the average household median income is $30,000. You look at the other ones, it's approximately 50. So based on just doing an analysis of what people have as income in our city, the very people that we represent, it's dramatic. The raise itself is larger than their total income in their homes. People are struggling. They have difficulty putting food on the table. They can't pay gas. And the message we're sending here is that we're going to take your taxpayer dollars and we're going to put it in our pocket even though you're struggling, because $85,000 isn't enough for us. We think we should be making $135,000. And what they want to do is tie this to the Board of Supervisors. Now, the Board of Supervisors are making $135,000, and their chair, the chairman of the board, is making $151,000. Now, I think those salaries, frankly, are outrageous. I've always felt they were outrageous. And what they've done there, the little scam they've had there since 1994, is they tie their salaries to judges. So they never have to take a vote. They never have to take the tough vote and face the voters as to raising their salaries. What they did in 1994 is every time judges get a salary increase, which they do, their salaries have gone up. So they've gone up dramatically. So they're making $135,000, and they never have to take a vote before their voters. They also receive a retirement plan, and they also have no term limits over at the board. They can raise money with no limits on the amounts. And so they've created a very nice, cushy job for themselves over there. Now, we have members here who feel, appropriately so, that we do as much work, if not more, than the Board of Supervisors. Now, whether that's true or not, they can debate it. We can debate it. But because there's one wrong doesn't mean we create another wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right. I think we learned that as kids. So we really should be fixing their salaries and the little scam they've got going on there, not joining them. And that's what this proposal is. This proposal is to join the scam, to continue the ripoff of the taxpayers and not be held accountable for these votes, like we did 3 years ago. And the fact is, the cost of this raise to the taxpayers, if you figure out 55,000 times 7, which eventually, not everybody immediately will get it, but down the road everybody will get it who runs for office, is $385,000 a year every year once this goes into effect. Now, that's the cost of a lot of 911 dispatchers, police officers, student resource officers, but it's more taxpayer money that's going to go into the politicians' pockets rather than services for the people. Now, are the salary increases justified? I don't think so. When we look at the analysis just on benchmark, when we look at the analysis of what the median income for households are, it's not justified. But the other thing I think it's not justified is when we look at what the council has done over the last several years, when it shut down businesses, when it fined them, and there was about $80,000 of fines as people tried to stay open, so they could pay their taxes, so that we could collect the taxes, we were fining them, shutting them down, and throwing people out of work. And as a result, these people had to rely on government to survive because of the actions of this council and state government. Now, this council also supported, I didn't, but this council did, all the destructive school closures that took place that left children academically behind, socially isolated, struggling with all kinds of mental health issues. I don't think that should be rewarded. This council closed gyms, they closed golf courses, they closed city parks so the children couldn't play, the adults couldn't exercise. Keys to staying healthy physically and psychologically and fighting COVID if it was contracted. I've also highlighted the fact that there's been misuse with city credit cards, and there has been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, from lavish meals, tens of thousands of dollars for flyers being sent out to people's homes, constituents, slick brochures with the intent of using staffers on the taxpayer dime to walk to their homes to deliver them, campaign materials bought with taxpayer money and city credit cards, parties celebrating becoming council president, complete misuse of taxpayer money, violating oaths to be good stewards of taxpayer money. I could go on, and trust me, I could go 10 more minutes discussing the misuse and waste of taxpayer money. Now, is our job as council members challenging and difficult? It certainly is. Do we all work long hours and come up with and get much criticism for the things we do? Yeah, we do. But we all knew that. I knew that running. I am a clinical psychologist, retired now, but I had a thriving private practice. I worked at the VA, and I sacrificed knowing full well there would be sacrifices financially to come here. But I have a desire to serve, and that's what this is about. You come here to serve. You don't come here to make money. If you're coming here to make a big fat salary, you're coming here for the wrong reasons. And this is about service, public service, and serving our neighbors and doing what we can to improve the city. We get paid a very fair salary to do this job. $85,000 is a very fair salary to do this job, and it's commensurate with other cities. So I can't support this. I really encourage our council members. This is for introduction. It'll be an adoption, I guess, in 30 days. It's wrong on so many levels. We shouldn't be joining the scam that's going on at the county because that's wrong. Two wrongs, as I said, don't make a right. The salary increases are clearly not justified. And I think if you listen to the public, once the public becomes more aware of this, they too will be outraged. And so it's my hope that council changes course, that if you decide you want an increase, it is commensurate with other benchmark cities, and that you have to run after you've made that vote, so that taxpayers can determine whether they think what you did was right or not after you've won, and then you come and say, I'm going to reward myself with a $55,000 increase. That's wrong on so many levels. So for that reason, I'm not going to support it, and I hope the council reconsiders, and I also hope that if the council doesn't, that the mayor will do everything in his power to veto it, whether it's a 6-1 vote, 5-2 vote, or 4-3 vote, to convince 2 other people not to support this, because this is just completely wrong.